Hey guys, it's Jenny with Gogh, and I'm going to teach you guys a fun little spring pig painting today. So in your kit, if you ordered a kit from us, you should have 5 paint colors. We have our black and white, that's used almost every painting. We have pool blue and a light lemon yellow, and then this one is kind of a dark pink. And we're going to do a lot of color mixing to get the colors we need for the painting. So I'm going to set this aside. The other thing that you should have on hand, I guess I need to make more room. You should have some paint brushes. And everybody tends to use different brushes. I just mainly like to have a large brush, which I call the dad brush, a medium-sized brush, which I'll call the mom brush, and this little one, some kind of little detail brush, and I just call that the baby brush, just to keep it easy when I'm teaching the kiddos. You will want a paper towel to dry your brushes on when you clean them in the water, and you'll want some kind of old cover mug filled with paint water water that you can wash your paintbrushes in that you don't want to drink out of. I don't want to confuse my drinking water with my paint water, so I'll try to not do that. What I'm going to have us do with this painting, so this is a painting of, it's got a cute little pig. It's like half the pig is showing in the ear, and it's sort of peeking off from the side, and then the background is this really fun greenish color with daisies on it. And I've got an 11 by 14 size canvas. You can paint on, I've had people paint on rocks, and you can paint on whatever kind of surface, piece of paper, whatever you got laying around. But if you did order the kit through gobox.com, you get the canvas, the paint, and then if you order brushes, you get those too. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to mix a color first. And for color mixing, I'm going to use the mom brush because I'm not making a huge amount of color here. What we're going to do is we're going to make a really pale pink, and we're going to sketch the pig out and the ear out. And then we're going to leave it to dry just a bit, and then we'll paint the greenish background around the outside of the pig. So let's take our mom brush, go ahead and dip it in your water cup, kind of brush it lightly on the bottom of the cup, waking the bristles up. Time to wake up, Mom. And dry the brush really good on your towel, your paper towel or paint rag, whatever you're using. And then I'm going to scrape off a little of this dark pink, plop it down somewhere near the white, and then I'm going to stir a lot of white into that. So save some of your white. We'll need it for daisies. But see how light this pink is? This is the color I'll use later on to color in the pig's face and part of the ear and shoulder and all of that. So just a really pale pink. So I'm going to set this aside now, and we'll paint in just a second. Let me set my brush down. I want to show you real quick the shape we're going to draw. So we just have half the pig showing, which is kind of nice because then you don't have to try and draw another eye and line all of that up. And the way that we do this is we draw the top of the head. It's just kind of like you're starting to draw a rainbow shape, part of a rainbow. And then this is going to curve down and then out again. So it's like I'm making a pear shape, but the pear's kind of squished. In fact, this is probably a little taller than I want it to be anyway. And then we're just sort of going down for a little chin. And then the ear is kind of shaped a lot like a Hershey's Kiss, actually. Like a Hershey's Kiss that's stuck on the side of its head. So see, I did make this one a little longer. That would be cute too, but let's see how it looks if I did it shorter. This is more like what's on the original. I think when let's pretend this is the side of my canvas. I think when it's shorter like this, it looks more like a baby pig. So that's really cute. So we'll draw some more on this later when I show you how to draw the pig snout and all of that. But let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my mom brush with my light pink. You can draw this on with your paintbrush, and don't worry if you make a mistake because you can we are going to paint over everything. So it's really easy to fix. So one of the things I noticed at Gogh when I'm teaching kids tend to make things a little too small. So this painting is really mostly about the pig, and we want to make it nice and big. So I am going to start by marking off a spot. Let me get my picture to come back here on my computer. The computer's being slow to wake up. So let's make a little mark. So let's come down maybe about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches. Make a little mark here. That's where we're going to start our funny rainbow shape that I told you about. And we're just going to sketch it down. It's a little flatter, like a flat rainbow. See how it's kind of flatter up here? And then I'm going to curve out. Make the big round cheek. And then as I curve down, I bump out one last time to make the chin. And here's where I could make this whole thing a little bigger if I wanted to. It's easy to do. Sometimes I have a tendency to paint things a little too small too. So I just gradually made it a little bigger by making my line thicker. This is all going to be filled in with pink later anyways. Let's make the shoulder, which is right before the cheek starts curving to the chin. So right about here. And I'm just going to come out and down. Just a little angled line there. So far, so good. And then remember I said the ear is sort of shaped a lot like a Hershey's Kiss. So it's going to go round like that. And it's a point at the top and then back down. Oh, that works. Kind of like a Hershey's Kiss. All right, it looks like a pig already. Yay! I'm going to wash that brush off. So I've never painted this one before, although I've painted a lot of paintings like it. So this is new for me too, working through this painting. And I think it's going to be really cute when it's finally finished. So we're going to leave Piggy to dry while we mix another color. So I'll bring my palette over here. I guess I need the canvas underneath it. And this time I wash off Mom Brush. So do that, wash Mom Brush off, dry it off, and let's give Mom a nap. She's gonna work later, but for now she's taking a nap. And I'm gonna pick up the Dad Brush. And Dad Brush needs to take a little Dad brush across the bottom of the cup to loosen up the bristles. And then dry it on the towel. I'll usually brush it several times on one side, then flip it over and brush it several times on the other side. And then this little metal, this is called a ferrule. I try to make sure there's no drippy water on that too, because sometimes when I painted, I've had a drip of water roll down and plop right on my canvas because I didn't realize it was stuck there on the metal ferrule. So we're going to make green. And a lot of you know just from past experience doing art that there are 2 colors on this palette that will give you green. And they are yellow and blue. So I'm going to pull some yellow into my blue, mix them together. And that makes a perfect spring green. I really like that color a lot. So much fun. We use a little bit of yellow later on for the center of the daisies, but you can use most of it here for the background. And the neat thing is you can play around and see what it's like if you use a little more blue or what it's like if you use a little more yellow. And you can make your own color that you like. And that's what color we're going to use to paint the background. So I'm going to set this aside. I've got my big Dad brush with the paint on it. I want this to dry, so I'm going to start away from the pig. I'm going to start way up here. And I'll just brush all the way down and up. This is such a pretty green color. It will make a perfect background for those cute little daisies. There are other flowers we could paint in the background too. You don't have to be stuck with just white daisies. You could paint blue daisies or pink daisies. I think it would be kind of fun if we changed it up a little bit, like I usually like to do, just to show you that it's okay to come up with things that are different than what's on the original painting. It's really good to use your brain creatively that way and not just get locked in with, unless you're planning on copying something exact, you can make little changes along the way. I do it all the time. So I just mixed more paint, and it's a little yellower than that first batch. So I just kind of blend it back into the green. I don't mind too much if the colors are not exact. And I made some more again. It'll probably be a slightly different shade. This is where, as I'm getting closer to the pig, I want to start being careful, because we don't want to paint green into the pig's ear or face or body, because this is a lot darker, and covering it up with the pink will take several coats. You can do it. So if you accidentally do drag a little green into your piggy, don't worry too much. It's real easy to fix. But I just usually try to avoid that. All right. So with the flat brush like this, you can turn it and use the skinny edge. If you feel better using the smaller brush like the mom brush to get around some of these areas, please do. You can do that anytime. That is a beautiful bright green. I know I've said it a million times, but I love it. I love this color. So around the ear, just try to be a little cautious with your paintbrush. I only have a little bit left to do, and like I said, you can use the mom brush to come in and get around any of these small areas. Like there's a little corner here that using this littler brush is helpful for. I am using up all my yellow, so I'm gonna have to get a little bit more out of my paint bottle when I start doing daisies, if I do some with yellow centers. That's the only place yellow is used, is if you are going to paint centers of flowers. So you really don't need a lot outside of what you put in the background. Around the shoulder. So by working this way, where we draw the pig out, but not color it in. I just said pig out, that's funny. We draw it and then we don't color it in yet, but we paint the background first. This allows us to do a lot of skipping around, because we do have to skip around on the canvas because some parts need to dry. And rather than just sitting here twiddling our thumbs and waiting for it to dry, we can work on other areas, which is exactly what I'm going to have us do. Whew. Okay, I've got a couple spots I'm going to touch up with a little green in the smaller mom brush. And you know what? I'm going to grab a little more yellow here. Looks like mustard in this bottle. Oops, it made a really kind of rude noise. So I'm going to just carefully come along here with another coat of paint, just along the edges where I didn't quite get a good brush full of paint there. There. I think this needs to dry just a little bit before I try to put another coat on it, because acrylic paint likes to be dry before you put another coat on it, because what happens is the second coat of paint kind of takes away the first coat. It's really strange, but that's just something that always happens with acrylic paint. All right, I'm going to wash off mom brush, and I'm going to wash off a dad brush. Now the dad brush, you want to get all the green out. So here's what I do. I kind of brush it back and forth across the bottom of the cup. I'm slightly tapping it, but I'm not going up and down, because if you go up and down, you're going to fray this nice clean edge. So I'm really bending the bristles to the side. And then I'll dry it really good on the towel. And you'll see as you dry it on the towel, there's green on it, but just dry it really good. And that should dry out all the excess paint pigment. If that doesn't work, you can pause the video, get a clean cup of water, or even take your brush to the sink And I just brush it around in my hand like this while I have running water going on. And that works really good. Okay. I think what I'm going to have us do now is draw the snout. The cute little pig nose. It's shaped like half a jelly bean. So here's a whole jelly bean. A whole jelly bean is kind of shaped like this. Oop. If I gave it 2 nostrils, I've got a pig snout. Yay, but we're just going to do half of one. So let's look at our drawing over here. And it's not really the middle of the face that I put it. It's down a little bit lower. And I'm going to come out. So I'm sort of lining this up with the chin. So see how this matches? It's like a reflection. Because you want that will help you line it up. And then I come down and I curve back like I'm drawing a jelly bean. And then later on we'll come back and this one has room for 2 nostrils. You might have that too. But here we go. This one, jelly bean, nostril, and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's use the Mom brush. And even though the snout is done in dark pink, we're going to sketch it out in the light pink that we made, because we will fill that in later. Don't be worried if you mess up, you can redraw it, because everything's going to get painted over. All right, so I'm going to try to reflect this up here. So it's going the opposite direction. It's like if I were to flip this over, it's going to be kind of the same length, right about here. So if I were to connect these, I'd have a circle, or part of a circle. And then I'm going to come down and curve this kind of like I'm starting to draw a jelly bean. There. When we fill it in with the darker pink, you can always make it bigger if needed, or smaller. And now on the ear, we've got the top part of the ear is light pink, and then the inside of the ear down in here is going to be dark pink. So all you're going to do is just draw a little curved line like this. So that divides, this is the top, like the back side of the ear showing, and this is the inside of the ear showing. So let's go ahead and fill in this top part. Be careful along the edges where the green is still wet. Otherwise, you're going to get some green on your piggy. And you can cover it up, but you'll need it to dry. So you can have a parent help you with a hairdryer, or you can and pause the video, or you can just pause the video and wait for it to dry, or work on something else while it's drying. But let's go ahead and color in the pig face. Now the whole entire face is going to be light pink. We're going to leave this white for now. You can use the Mom brush like I'm using, or you can use the Dad brush if you want to cover more space quicker. So either one works. I might use the Dad brush. I've got a pretty big pig here, but I need to make some more light pink because I ran out. So I'll just try to match that original color, come as close as possible. There, that's pretty good. It can be a little bit streaky on the color. It doesn't have to be one solid color, because a lot of times there's shadows and lighting that comes into play, and you'll see different colors. Like when I paint portraits of people, I actually add different tones into the skin color. Sometimes there's a little bit of bluish, or like some brown or pink shadows, because depending on what lighting that you're standing in, you do see different color shadows. It took me a long time to learn that. It's my first original portraits. The whole entire face was one solid color. And I look back on those. I saved them, actually. It's kind of neat to look back on those and see how much I've learned. Actually, my mom saved them all. She loves to save all my old artwork. I don't know where she keeps it, but she'll hand a giant bag full of old art projects from when I was like 9 years old. Okay, so you can make the cheek a little bit bigger if this is dry, if the green is dry. You can round it out a bit more if you want. Oops, I lost my photo. Let me bring it back. There we go. I don't know what I did with the original painting. I remember bringing it from the studio, but I can't find it anywhere at home right now. So I figured I'd just look at the picture on the computer screen and be able to replicate it. So there, that works for now. And we are going to wash off Mom Brush. Clean it off real good. Dry it off. And let's take, I've got my light pink, which I am done with. I'm going to take and mix more dark pink into that. So we want a little bit, just a shade or two lighter than this base color. Partly it's to make it more opaque, which means you can't really see through it. Having a little bit of white in there helps so that when I paint this on, I don't still see canvas through it. Which if I painted just the dark red on there without white mixed into it, that's what would happen. So this is where I can make the snout a little bit bigger if I need to. You know, taller up here if needed. A friend of mine has a farm and she got baby piglets last Christmas and they were so cute. Cute, tiny. They're about the size of a cat. Cute little things. So I'm just filling that in. We may have to go back and give it another coat of paint. We'll see. But remember, this first coat has to dry before we try that. So far, so good. Let's go ahead and paint this part. So I'll trace along the green here. This is what I like to do a lot of times. I'm using the Mom brush. And you can use the baby brush if you feel that's going to be a little bit better for you. But I like to trace the shape that I'm going to color in first. And that way, it's all bordered off and I'm less likely to accidentally paint somewhere that I don't want to paint. So the inner ear is going to be the same color as this. One of my teachers, Annalise, designed this. She designs a lot of our kids' paintings, and she just makes the cutest animal paintings. I love them. All right, so this part of the piggy can be, you can make it light pink or you can make it just a little bit darker than that. I think this color is maybe a tiny bit too dark, so I'll pull some white back in. But here's the reason it's going to be a little bit darker, and that is because the head is rather round and large, and it's going to be casting a shadow over this part. And so by painting this area a little bit darker pink, it makes it look like the head is sticking out more. So it's sort of a trick to give it more of a three-dimensional look. Now, like I said, it can be the same color as these. I just lightened it a little tiny bit. So this part, normally, like if you saw a pig, it would be all of its skin is this color. But because this is in shadow, a shadow created by the big round head, it's going to be a little bit darker. I could blend in some lighter down in here. I swear I saw a paint drop on my clothes, but maybe not. I'll find it later. That's usually how that works. I should be wearing an apron, but I keep forgetting to put one on. Or an old, you can wear an old shirt that you use as a smock. I remember in school they used to have these old like Hawaiian shirts we'd wear. Okay, that looks pretty good. Pretty good. I am going to go back in a little while and give this and this another coat of paint, and that's only because I can see my streaky brush strokes where the paint is thin because of, you can see the canvas through it. And I like to have a pretty solid coverage, so I'll give it another coat. But first, let's jump around. So this is all dry, and yours should be dry too. I think we should paint some flowers. And how about if I show you some different flowers to paint? Besides, I'll show you the white daisy. We'll do that. They have 5 petals. And then I will show you how to do some other flowers. Just for fun. So for the flowers, you want to use one of your smaller brushes. Either the mom brush or the baby brush. And I'm going to sketch, even though the center of the flowers is yellow, I'm going to sketch the whole thing out in white. And I start by, I'll use the baby brush. I start by just drawing, oops, just landed my hand in some pink. I'll just draw a little circle for the center of the flower. And it's a little bit smaller than a penny on this particular one. I forgot to loosen up my paint bristles on the baby brush by dipping it in water. So if you need to do that, you can. Especially if you have brand new brushes. They come with a coating on them that kind of keeps the bristles really tight together. And sometimes you just have to dip it in water and wipe it off. That'll get that coating off of there. So there, I've got my little circle, a little bit smaller than a penny. And I know a lot of you guys know how to draw flowers. But I'll draw 1 petal. Now I have to draw 4 more. Each one has 5. Or you can do 6. 2. I might have room for 6. 3. I think I'm going to. 4. 5. Looks like I can fit one last one in here. Kind of a wonky flower, that's all right. So then I'll probably use mom brush to color the flower petals in one at a time. So one thing that's really neat here, let's say you mess up on a flower and you really don't like it. You're not stuck. You want to dry your canvas or wait for it to dry. Either hair dryer it or wait for it to dry. And then paint the green over whatever you messed up on. Let it dry. And then you can come back with a fresh green background and just repaint anything. Cute wonky flower. None of my flower petals are the exact same size. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it too much. There we go. And now I will use I'm going to wash mom brush off and dry that brush off real good. Set that one aside and pick up baby brush. And let's give our flower a nice yellow center or any color you want. Just fill in that little circle we initially drew. Then a little bit later on, I'm going to come back and we'll trace this yellow circle in black because that will just make it stand out really good. How about we paint a blue flower? The blue looks really good on this background. You can always mix white with the blue too. Let's try that. So I'll use my baby brush. Maybe I'll just scrape off a little white, mix a little blue into it, and I'll make a nice pastel blue flower. And I start it the exact same way. Now, you can make them smaller or larger. They don't have to be all the same size. So let's see, maybe up in here I'll do my circular shape in my sky blue color. And then 1, 2, 3. Looks like I'm making them the exact same size. 4, 5. Exact same size, but this one has a few more flower petals. fill that in. I've turned my canvas only to make it a little bit easier for me to reach, and you can do that too. Sometimes I'll have the kiddos turn their canvases upside down, like I'm doing right now, rather than trying to like reach all the way up and accidentally lay your arm in your paint. I think next, after this one's done, I'll show you a different type of flower. Like a tulip. Those are very springy. But first, that's cute. First, I'll paint the center of this. And you know what? I get to choose a color. There are two colors on here that you can mix together to get kind of a purple. That would be pink and blue. Ooh, that's pretty. Kind of a lavender color. Or this one, actually, I would call this like plum. And you can make a flower out of that color too if you want. Or multiple flowers in that color. And how about let's do a tulip down here if you want. If you want to just do all daisies in different sizes and kind of scattered together, you can definitely do that. If you want to try a tulip, I'll guide you through how to do that. So I'm going to use the dark pink for this one. And first I start with kind of a cup shape. I know a lot of you guys have drawn these before, so you probably know exactly how to do it. And then I will just... I'm going to bring that down like that. And then this one's going to come up like that. So it looks like it just has two petals. And then I just make one in the center. Maybe it's a little taller than the other two. Cute. I'm going to use Mom Brush to fill those in. So this is kind of like a tulip that we're looking at from the side. I think we could give it a stem too. We'll just have to mix a slightly different color of greenish for the stem. So I'll let that dry, and then we'll figure out a color mix and make a stem. And you know, I'm going to do a light pink little flower. I'm going to use the Mom Brush, and you can do a flower just by making a dot, and then you can just play with how you put pressure on your brush. See how I'm starting at the end of the petal and brushing inward? There, that was a really easy little flower. Kind of looks like a little cherry blossom. I'll do another one of those. So I put a dot for the center, and then I'm going to do one petal that's straight up, one on either side, like it's almost like I'm starting to draw a star. 5 points. 5-pointed star. But it's actually a flower. There is a way to do a rose that I've been practicing with watercolor. And if I were you, I'd only do it if you feel comfortable doing it. But I will show you how. So when I'm doing watercolor, I have these round brushes. And I do a little cluster of lines that are kind of... Here's what I'll draw it on with pen first. So it's like I'm drawing a bunch of these, and then I just keep going with bigger brush strokes. So it's kind of like you're looking at a tornado from the top. I would only do that if you're feeling comfortable, like you want to approach it, because it can be kind of hard. And see how I'm leaving some green space? I'll probably come back later with a little bit darker pink. I used to be terrified of painting roses, but I sort of learned how to do it this way, and it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Just everything needs to be sort of rounded. They bloom from a tiny little bud, and they just gradually open up. Wow. We're getting floral over here. I'm gonna make a different color. I'm gonna make the lavender. And I'm going to give these little guys a lavender center. It's not a huge difference between the petal color and the center color, but that's all right. How about we do a yellow flower? I will tuck one in right over here. So how about like real close to this one? A little circle. And then loop, 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 loop. One last one. Now I'm going to fill those in. And you know what? I'm going to turn my canvas. Look at all those different flowers we learned. Remember, if there are any flowers on here that you wish you hadn't painted, that you don't really like, let it dry or have a parent help you blow dry your canvas and repaint the green background over that flower you don't like. Just try really hard to make the right exact color and let that dry. Then you can come back with a clean slate and paint all new flowers. So you're never stuck with anything. It's real easy to fix. It just takes a little extra work. How about for this one, I'll give it a blue center. There we go. Turn this back around. And you can keep going with flowers, add them anywhere you want. We are going to add some little dots in the background. And these little dots are probably, maybe they're just flowers that are off in the distance and all we're seeing are the tiny little color dots. Or maybe they're flower petals that are kind of raining down in the background. Like if you've ever seen a cherry blossom tree and like a gust of wind comes up, it suddenly looks like it's snowing, but it's actually little pink flower petals. They can be any color though. It looks like Annalise did them in the blue. And all she did was just do little tiny dots. You could do them in the blue mixed with white. Any color really. This is a great way to cover space, any open spaces without having to painstakingly paint a million flowers unless you really want to do that. And then I'm going to show you how to paint a stem. Maybe we could do two stems, one on this and one on that. So you guys work on the dots while I figure out a color. Gotta figure out a different color green. So you keep working on those dots. Well, that first one I made didn't work out very good. I've got an idea though. How are those dots doing? You're painting more flowers too. You can go back and give any of these a second coat. So I mixed a few different greens just playing around. And I think the best one to do, some of them were really ugly. I'll show you those. That one didn't turn out pretty and that one didn't turn out pretty. But what I did to make it a little different than the background is I have My green in the background has a little more yellow than blue. So for the stem color, I mixed more blue and less yellow. Just so that it stands out against that bright background. And you can hold your brush up with the wet paint on it close and see. It's not going to stand out like in a super big way. The other thing, you could paint those in black. But let's see. Yeah, it shows up a little bit. I think I need a little more blue in it. And then I'll do one over here. If you feel like painting some leaves, you can. They're going to be a lot like these, but maybe like pointy on the ends. Like here's a leaf. Shaped a lot like an almond. Let's do a leaf on the rose. Out this way. Again, it's shaped a lot like an almond. And then if you did the rose, now you can give any of these little stems too, just maybe make them curved. Like, that would be cute. But if you did the rose, I'll show you how to come back in and eliminate some of the green that's in the middle. So I'm gonna use my baby brush. You could use your mom brush too. I was trying to decide which one I want to use. And I'll come in with just the dark red, so just this color. And I'm going to just cover over some of the green. You don't have to cover every single spot of green. And I'm not doing this like super perfect. It's very imperfect. They're just little slashes. You can see I'm sort of lifting my brush a lot. This is, doing the rose like this, it's a little advanced. I normally wouldn't teach that in a kids class. But I did want you guys to see that you could do it and it's not super hard. It takes practice. And if you don't like your rose at all, dry it, paint over it, be done with it. All my brushes are hanging out in my water cup, so I'm going to one by one clean them off and take them out of the water. I think we're done with the dad brush, so dad gets to take a nice little nap. And now we are going to go and work on piggy face. Yay! First thing I want to do is give, now if needed, you may not need it. If you want to give these an extra coat of paint just to make it more opaque so you can't like see through it and see streakies as much, I'm going to have to remix my color. I'm using my mom brush, middle-sized brush. And if you don't get the exact same shade, it's no big deal as long as you're covering the whole thing with a second coat. Now paint always goes on a little lighter and dries a little bit darker. So when this dries, it probably will be the same color as the original. In theory. There. Much better. If you feel like you need to get any more paint down in here with a second coat, feel free to do that. Okie dokie. Let's see. This next step is interesting. So what Annalise did here is she was giving some highlights on the face of the pig. And she actually made a really, really, really pale blue, so lighter blue than this. And if you don't like the look of this, I would say just leave it off. It's not going to hurt your painting in any way to leave it off. But you want to make it very, very light blue. So again, lighter than your lightest sky blue. So it's just a lot of white and a little bit of blue. And what she did, she came across the top of the head here and just sort of curved to match the roundness of the face. Maybe this is like somewhere up above there's blue sky and it's shining down on the pig. Maybe this pig is like laying down in a field and the sun and blue sky are up above and they're shining down and casting these highlights. So there's one on top of the ear here. Again, if you don't like the look of it, don't do it. It's not gonna hurt anything to leave it off. Little on the cheek here. It's kind of cute. Looks like maybe she got a couple swoops on the chin. And then there is a little bit right on top of the pig snout, but my pig snout is all wet because I just did a second coat, so I'm going to wait on that. We'll do that later. And now we're going to talk about the eye. So the eye shape is a lot like it's round, generally round, but she does have a little point at each end. So really, in reality, it's shaped like a really fat lemon. So here, I'll draw a lemon. First, I draw the upper part, and then I draw the lower part. So it's like you're drawing a rainbow and then a smile. So it's a round shape with just a slightly pointed, I keep rubbing my arm in the paint. Round shape with slightly pointed edges. You could do solid, just perfectly round eyes too. That would be totally fine. But I want to use the baby brush for this. And it looks like she used black. And she gave her piggy eyelashes, which is so cute. So let's figure out where we're going to place this eye. It is, oh, there went my picture I've been referencing. It's right about here. So it's in between this and this. It's not too high up on the face and it's not too low on the face. It's right about here. So I'm going to draw it right here with black. If you want to use pencil first, you can, but press really light because you don't need super dark lines to draw with pencil. Okay, rainbow. So right now it looks like the pig is laughing really hard and she's got her eyes squinted shut. You could leave it like that. It would be really cute. But I'll teach you how to do it like the original. So we did our rainbow and now we're going to do a smile underneath. Just connecting those edges. And you can sort of refine the edges a little bit if needed. Whoops. But even though this pig has blue eyes, we're going to color the whole eye in black to start. And we get to paint blue eyes and some eyelashes and highlights. Right now, our pig just kind of looks like it has very staring eyes. Kind of creepy, but it's going to turn really cute. How about some eyelashes? I always just do a few at the corners, and I make them a little longer as you get to the outside corner. So a little shorter through here, then longer out this way. And you don't have to do eyelashes at all. But if you want to, that's how you do them. All right, so let's see. This is still, well, it's getting pretty dry. Let's go ahead and make the smile. The smile is super easy. First thing we're going to do, we're going to trace the whole snout with black using your baby brush. Maybe add a drop of water to your black paint, just a little, just to thin it down a tiny bit. You don't want it drippy wet, just a little thinner than what's on the palette. So I'm going to trace along. And your paintbrush will start running out, just like mine did. So you just kind of go back and add more. So we're tracing that funny jelly bean shape. And then for the mouth, she made it so it's like you come out here, and as you start curving up, you're going to go out into the face a little bit right here. That's cute. So I will admit her pig looks a little bit creepy right now, and that's only because of this staring black eye, which will turn really cute in a little bit. All right, let's go ahead. This should be dry enough. We can draw the round circle for the nostril, and it's about the size of a quarter. You could even trace a quarter if you needed to. Trace a quarter with a pencil, and then paint around it. We will color the inside of this a little bit darker in a bit. if it makes sense and you have room to paint another like half circle, do that. But I don't have any room. I think it would look weird if I did that. But while we've got our black on our baby brush, let's go ahead and trace the center of some of these daisies if you want. You don't have to use black. I could have traced this with blue or the lavender color. I'm tracing them with black because that's what's on the original, and it does look cute. That one was still a little bit wet. There. That looks cute. We're getting close. We've got a few more steps to do, and then we'll be ready to sign it. Let's go ahead and outline Piggy in black. That is how the original is, and it really does give it a very nice finished look. You can use your baby brush, or you can use your mom brush, whichever one feels comfortable in your hand for outlining. And you do want to mix at least 1 drop of water with some black. You don't want it so drippy thin that it's going to drip down your canvas as you paint on it. But having a little water in there to make it more fluid than just that glob of paint that's been drying on the palette for a while is going to be real helpful. So I'm going to start with something easy. I'll start with this part, the underside of the ear. Nice and smooth brush stroke, and then this part here. And then the rest of the outlines, she wanted to indicate that the pig actually has some furriness to it, and they do. They do have really coarse hair on them, and it's usually really light, like white. And so what she did with her brush strokes is kind of did little sketchy, jaggedy. I'm gonna go down this face here. See that? How you make it look? See the difference? This is real smooth, and that's more furry. So I'm just kind of lifting my brush a lot. And I'll go down here. So this is where being a little wobbly with your paintbrush is helpful. Pig is still looking a little creepy. Needs those highlights in the eyes. And then the top of the ear can be a little fuzzy too. All right. So far, so good. It looks really bright on the monitor. It's not that bright in person. I think it's just the way my TV monitor up there is showing it. So I don't know how it looks to you guys. It's very vivid up there. Okay, let's go ahead and paint the inner part of the nostril. And that is with a darker pink that we make by mixing a tiny bit of black with some pink here. And it actually turns out sort of a, I would call that dusty mauve. I'm trying to think of the right name. But it is dark. See that? Almost brownish. And we'll paint the inside here, because this part would be dark. You could paint it solid black, but I think it looks a little cuter to have it just be a little bit darker pink. That might need a second coat of paint. We'll see. Let's go ahead and remember we did the light blue highlights, and I said let's wait till this dries. We can do that now. And there's a little one in the ear, and there's a little one down here. So I'm going to use Mom Brush, and hopefully you still have that really, really pale blue. I have it, but it's dried. So I'm going to make some fresh. I don't need much. In fact, when you mix paint, sometimes you end up with way extra on your brush, and you don't want a huge amount of paint on here when you're doing this. So a lot of times I'll either swipe it on my palette or my towel, and then I come in, do this little highlight on the snout, little on the inner ear, little down here on the shoulder. I kind of like the idea of this pig is sort of laying in a meadow. Okay, so let's talk about these eyes and how we're going to turn this pig into a cute piggy instead of just a black-eyed scary thing. So the eye color, you could do green eyes, like to match the background. You could do blue just by using the blue that came right out of your bottle. Other colors, you could make them brownish with this color, but I think we're a little bit limited on what colors we use. Yellow and blue will make green. You can mix white and blue to make a lighter blue, kind of more like the ice blue. So you can mix white and blue to make sort of an ice blue, sort of like this flower color would be good. I'll go ahead and see how it looks with just plain old blue. And I'm going to draw a curved line here, like I'm doing a moon shape. I'm going to come back around like that. My black's a little bit wet still, but it's actually working. It's mixing just fine in here. And let's talk about eyes. So we know that in our eyes, we have the little black circle in the center, which is called the pupil. And then the colored part is called the iris. So pigs will have that too. And I'm just gonna come around here and leaving a black circle in the center. You might have to retouch that circle. Like mine got a little out of shape, so I'm going to clean it up. Very cute. Now it looks better, but it still needs a highlight. While that black dries, I'm going to give this nostril another coat of that smoky pink color. And we don't have very much left to do. Just highlighting the eyes and signing our painting. I think we can handle that. There. For the eye highlights, the easiest way to do it is to use your baby brush, and instead of using the brush end, you're going to flip it over and use the handle end. Now, those of you who painted other paintings with me know that this is how we make stars, but we're also going to use it for eye highlights. So I'm going to dip it in the white, and then up here in the upper right corner of this pupil, I put one dot. And then just below it at an angle, I'm going to put a little bit smaller dot. And then make sure you wipe off the handle of your brush so that doesn't dry on there. And that is our adorable little spring piggy. You can play around and add more flowers. You could add, let's see what I could do here. I always try to find extra things to do. You can add little streaks of color coming up from the bottom of the tulip. But when you are finally done, you get to pick any color that you want and sign your painting. Now, on your signature, I would keep it fairly small. You can write your whole name or your first name, last initial, or just your initials. But we want to keep it pretty small because the painting is more about what's going on in here, the pig and the flowers and all that, and less about your signature. So I always just tuck my initials down here in one of the corners. And then it's done. And keep in mind, you can paint over anything and fix anything. It just has to dry. Or you can, have a parent help you use a hairdryer just to make that go faster. But you can fix up anything, paint new flowers, paint a new pig, paint a new eye, whatever you need to do. Sometimes, let's say if I were to cover this eye and start over, it can sometimes take, because we'd be painting a light color over a dark color, it can sometimes take 3 coats of paint. So you dry in between each one. Paint it, dry it, paint it, dry it, paint it, dry it, until you can't see the black eye through there anymore. and then you can paint a whole new eye if needed. But I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I think it turned out really cute. And if you want to show your artwork, you can email it to us. And that's it. You guys, I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed painting the piggy with me, and hopefully we can do another painting together soon. Thanks. Bye.